Hello and welcome back to the channel and for another brand new discussion video where in today's video, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, I am going to talk about practical effects versus CGI effects and which do I prefer. So yeah, you see, for me, by the time this video comes out, I'm 27, so I obviously grew up with movies that more so focus on CGI. So you'd think I would say that, that I prefer CGI over practical effects. And you'd be absolutely wrong. I honestly to God prefer practical effects over CGI. And I take practical effects any day of the week in movies and TV show. Why? Because it looks so much better. It looks cleaner. It looks, honest to God, way more. It engrosses me more into it. Because if I look at a movie and I see that it has terrible CGI, I'm not talking about films from the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, when CGI was in its infancy. It's expected of that time. Back then it looked, cutting edge. Take, for example, Spy Kids 3D from the early 2000s. Shark Boy and Lava Girl, another absolutely, in today's standard, terrible looking film because of the CGI. But it still somewhat leagues better than the shit that's coming out nowadays. And I'm not, it's an open discussion on, why that happens, and it's down to one reason why we tend to have terrible, terrible CGI, and that is corporate greed and unrealistic deadlines. So what do I mean by that, for those who don't know? Well, when it comes to making CGI for films, a lot of the time, the CGI animators that are working on that film tend to get rushed because they need to meet certain deadlines, which are massively unrealistic. And it affects the movie. It can affect the movie. And it's not just, I know I'm talking about CGI here, but it also happens for animation as well. If it's rushed, it's not going to look great. Take, for example, 10 years ago, when Dragon Ball Super first came out. I only mention it because, I am rocking with the Dragon Ball Z t-shirt. The animation for the first two arcs sucked. And not even just that, like, the same year, the Resurrection F movie came out. And that was, yes, a lot of that was, proper animation. There was a lot of CGI elements in that movie. And it looked god awful. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that make comments in this video or more recent projects of CGI that looks absolutely horrendous. The first one that comes to mind, and it is unfortunate, and that is She-Hulk. There's a reason why I didn't watch. Well, I watched nearly every episode of the show. There definitely was an episode before the finale that I didn't watch, and one of the main reasons why didn't watch it, and to be honest, if it wasn't for the fact of, seeing Sakaar, Hulk's son, as like a post-credit scene or something, I would have given the finale a skip too. And that's just the CGI that they used for She-Hulk, when she was, She-Hulk. It just did not look great at all. Now, compare that, the likes of She-Hulk from 2022, 2023, whenever it came out, to some films of the early 2000s, early to late 2000s. And again, one that springs to mind is District 9, because a lot of those movies that, took the time and perfected it still look amazing all these years later. And it's not going to be the same for the movies that are coming out now that don't look the best, because if they don't look great now, 10, 20 years from now, they're still not going to look that great. And it can be a simple fix, and that is to go in and fix these things for the home media release. if it does end up getting a home media release. Again, jumping back to Dragon Ball, that's what they done for the Blu-rays of the first two arcs for Dragon Ball Super. They actually went back and fixed the animation for that. You know, some of the keyframes that looked god awful. But then again, you know, deadlines, they were massively rushed, and I believe it was even outsourced to different studios just to be able to meet the unrealistic deadlines that were met. Compare that to the likes of practical effects. You know, yes, to be honest, you know, doing things practically is going to cost more money. But saying that, it's going to look really, really great. Like, I'll give you another example here for how practical effects still can look good. 2023's Oppenheimer. You know, a lot of those explosions were done with practical effects. Now, there might have been some CG elements into it to enhance it, but that's all it done, was just enhance it. Oh, but the vast majority of those explosions were practical effects, and that's something that I loved. And I believe even in my review I raved about the practical aspects of it. And that's what I love about going back and watching these older movies, is seeing the practical effects that they came up with. Star Wars is another absolutely amazing one as an example. A New Hope, where we see it's the camera zooming into a map painting of the Death Star, and then it just, due to editing and what have you, it made it look like a lot better, to be honest with you, that way. And that's a scene that has always stuck out to me because of how beautiful it looks. And like I said, I always will prefer practical effects over CG effects. Yes, as I said, I know CGI in large part now is a cheaper medium to do. But if you're not going to give your animators the proper time to work on it to make it look as great as it can be, and you're just going to force on these unrealistic deadlines, it's going to look crappy, and it takes me out of the scene if I see terrible CGI in more modern movies. To be completely honest with you, I just can't stand it. And I'm sure I know I'm not alone. That I know, for when it comes to the CGI, I know for sure that I'm not alone. But hey, that is going to wrap this video up. Let me know in the comments down below, which do you prefer, CGI in movies or practical effects? And let me know what your favorite movie that used practical effects is in the comments down below. And I'll catch you all on, I believe, Monday. Yes, Monday, for another movie review. So I'll catch you all on the next upload.